All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So today I have a couple Jeremy Dewitte updates. Motor 1 update. I'm going to talk mostly about JeremyDeWitteCase.com, the website, and the mysterious Dr. Phil episode. Did he use a siren? But first, I want to get a couple of things out of the way that also happened this week. One, the charges stemming from when Jeremy threw metal chairs off of a balcony at a tow truck driver in Chicago. Those charges got dropped. It's one of my favorite Jeremy Dewitte videos on Real World Police, because at one point when they're either searching him or cuffing him, one of the 4 times he's cuffed in the video, he screams, "Where's my badge?" And I feel like when you boil it down, that's probably the big existential question that Jeremy needs to grapple with in his life. Where is my badge? And so the charges from hucking metal chairs at a person from a very tall height, that's gone. I'm sure the Chicago justice system thought, okay, let's just cut our losses. If we just drop the charges, we don't have to deal with Jeremy and Amir. So those are gone. About a week ago, I did a video on Jeremy where I had said that he had a warrant for domestic battery 6 days ago, or about a week ago, I guess. He was arrested for that at 8:21 p.m. at night. He was brought into jail, and then he did a court appearance for that, and it was deemed no information, which I've always understood as the charges were dropped, or he didn't even get to the point where they were dropped. It just, there was no real information about what happened, and so there was nothing. He was released. Amir, his lawyer, made sure to argue that the reason that whole thing happened and he was brought down was to try to revoke his bond for the police interrogation case that he's also working through. And there's so much little information online about where that case is, the impersonation case, that it's almost mind-blowing. Like, you type in Jeremy Dewitte case update or Jeremy Dewitte update, and barely any local Florida papers or anything are covering it. It's mind-blowing. There's a couple updates from October 2019, but then since then it's almost been all YouTubers. Which brings me to my next point. So let's talk about JeremyDeWitteCase.com. If you type in Jeremy Dewitte, it's the first thing on Google. For most of the things I think people are interested in looking up, they end up on this website just because it's right there, and it doesn't seem like anything else is popping up. So, like I said, I'm pretty much 90% sure it's run by Jeremy and company. Just either he's paying someone, or because things come up wildly positive for Jeremy on the site. I had only been on the site for the first time checking out the information about the Dr. Phil episode, because it's the only thing that is reporting the Dr. Phil episode, which is pretty interesting. But I went back over the long Thanksgiving weekend and was reading other posts on the website and doing highly scientific detective work, which I was just reading it in Jeremy's voice, and anytime there was a period, I would scream the word sergeant, and people, I think it checks out. I think it's him. All right, so the Dr. Phil episode. I think everybody was caught, not by surprise, but I don't even know what the word is, but all of a sudden, the JeremyDeWitteCase.com, which the credibility is really up for question, anybody that actually follows this thing. But what is it, 2 weeks ago at this point, they put up a post, the Dr. Phil episode. And the 3 things that I had talked about in the last update about the Dr. Phil episode that seem a little bit weird is, 1, that Jeremy requested and took a polygraph. It's with a professional polygraph company or something. So it's going to be interesting if that's true, 1, if it's true, and 2, if it is true, how did it go? The second one was that Dr. Phil really chummed it up with Jeremy. Again, most of everything on JeremyDeWitteCase.com is pro-Jeremy or positive towards Jeremy. So again, it's saying, yeah, Dr. Phil loved him. something like that. They talked about motorcycles. And Dr. Phil doesn't think he should go to jail and think he's, I don't know. It said they chummed it up. And then another thing it said is after asking a couple YouTubers, because it seems like that's where this whole saga is living. After asking a couple YouTubers, they asked Blue Bacon, who the YouTuber that goes by Blue Bacon interviewed Jeremy, 6 or 7 months ago before the thing really started going. So the post on the website, most likely run by Jeremy, said they brought Blue Bacon out, and in a pre-interview he had said, I know that Jeremy's a police impersonator. And when interpreter, he just like does the language for him. So the post says that they get Blue Bacon there, and it's time for him to, it's like how those talk shows work, is they set it up and then they cut to someone that like disagrees. So I guess Blue Bacon was playing the role of, I know he is impersonating. So they cut to him, at least according to the post. They say, all right, well, how did you know? And then the post says that he backed down, and then it went to commercial break, and the producers asked him to leave the stage, Blue Bacon. So that's what I had said on the last update. Well, then Blue Bacon commented on my video saying, I can assure you, and I had said this is only being reported by JeremyDewittecase.com. That's it. So just take it with a big block of salt. But he had come on that video and commented, I can assure you that there are, I'm paraphrasing, there are, many things in the recent post on JeremyDewittecase.com that are completely inaccurate. And just knowing something about humans, I figured that he was probably talking about the part that is about him, right? That's the way we all work. And so I said, do you feel like you were portrayed correctly, something like that, in the Dr. Phil post on JeremyDewittecase.com? Or I said, or do you think when the Jeremy DeWitte episode airs, it's going to show wildly different than the post? Because that's kind of funny, too. If the episode airs and just most likely Jeremy's delusional website just comes up totally wrong, like, all right, we tried. But maybe it won't. And so he, like I said, he had said, trust me, there's details wildly inaccurate. And I said, were you portrayed right? And then he said, and he went into like legal riddle talk, which I think is a sign that the Dr. Phil episode did happen. And so he was saying if the website was correct and I was on the show, then I wouldn't have done anything that would have made me get asked to leave the stage. But also, I would think, he said something like, also, if I was on the show, then I would have had to sign a contract saying I can't talk about the show until it airs, or 180 days after the filming. Something like that. If you want, I'll post this video in the description if you want to read the exact wording of Blue Bacon and me going back and forth for a second, and then he goes back and forth for another guy for a while, where he talks about he's considering a defamation lawsuit against JeremyDewittecase.com. And so here's what I gather from all of that. There'd be no reason for Blue Bacon to talk in the legal riddle type speak if he wasn't bound and gagged by an NDA. So I responded to him like, I hear you. I'm sure you're up to your eyeballs in NDAs. But I said I would think that the post about the Dr. Phil episode on JeremyDewittecase.com would be in violation of similar contracts, right? And then Blue Bacon said something like, I would think that Jeremy had the same NDAs type contracts that I had, but maybe his lawyer Amir negotiated something, or maybe he just flat out broke the NDAs and just couldn't help himself and post all the information on his little website. Since all that happened, the reason I haven't done this update a little bit sooner is I was sitting around waiting for an update from the Dr. Phil show. I don't watch the Dr. Phil show, and I don't know how they work, or if they're on break for the holidays or what, but it seems a little bit strange at this point. If everything is going smoothly, legally and everything, it would seem to me that they would have put out at least a teaser, up something. Because if the episode did happen in the way that the pictures, it looks like they flew his Motor One motorcycle out there. I mean, I'm sure that they spent a fortune getting the Jeremy Dewitte episode on the Dr. Phil. They got his motorcycle out there and everything, and to not put out anything. Like, I remember for the little Ukrainian dwarf woman and the Chris Watts episode on Dr. Phil, they put out all these teasers, and they would really got everybody pumped up for it. Also, you would think that if they got the Jeremy Dewitte episode right as this thing is really getting grabbing the public's attention, the YouTube numbers on it are crazy, you would think they would want to put something out and being like, we got the episode, maybe we're not going to put it out till after the holidays in January, but here's a teaser, get excited. But there's nothing. And so I'm just wildly speculating at this point, but I wonder if something is happening legally with Jeremy and Dr. Phil show, or maybe the Dr. Phil show is waiting to see what happens with the impersonation case, or waiting to see what happened with the domestic battery warrant, or I don't know if it is true that Dr. Phil just chummed it up and they had an old bro conversation about motorcycles. It would be pretty strange to put that episode out right as like Jeremy's, I don't know, case is either going to go one direction or the other. You don't want to be the one that chummed it up with the guy right before it comes out that he's just a complete nut job. And so I guess here we are. I do not know how to find information on the impersonation case, which is mind-blowing. You would think a Florida news outlet would pick up on it and report, but something I can't back up at all, and it just literally comes from a YouTube comment on my last video, but a woman said she had been really trying to dig and figure out what was happening with the impersonation case. And what she said, again, just take this we got to take a lot of things with the Jeremy Dewitte case. I don't know if there's anything to back it up, but she was saying that there's a plea deal on the table. And I searched Jeremy Dewitte plea deal and zero comes up. But she said that there was a plea deal on the table. And the crux of the plea deal is if you take the plea, I think that cancels most of the jail time that's on the table, but his company, the funeral company, is done. And then if he doesn't take the plea deal, she said that a lot of prison time is on the table, like 60 years. And when Blue Bacon so I talked to him for a few when he commented on the video. I was like, you're probably up to your eyeballs in NDAs, blah, blah, blah. And another guy and him went back and forth for a long time. And what was my point with that? I can't remember. I don't know. Blue Bacon didn't seem like he was having too much fun, though. The guy under me that commented was like, I'm laughing my ass off. Your ass got kicked off this Dr. Phil stage. And Blue Bacon was like, how can you prove that? And the reason I think he probably wasn't having fun is if you were enjoying the whole thing and think in a good head spot where you're thinking, man, my little YouTube channel is really getting a lot of just talk. I was on the Dr. Phil show, and to defend yourself over, you were asked to leave, it would be like, yeah, so what? I mean, I flew out to California, I was on the Dr. Phil show, and I was immediately asked to leave the show. That's almost funnier. But, oh yeah, I remember why I brought that up. And so the woman that had that piece of information on my YouTube video said he's looking at like 60 years. And in that back and forth with the other guy, Blue Bacon said that he he was like talking to Blue Bacon was talking to the other guy, like, are you going to believe someone that is a sex offender and is facing 100 years in prison? And so just from Blue Bacon, I've heard 100 years. And from the woman just in the comment section, I heard 60 years. And that's those two are the only information I can find. If there's some great website or YouTube channel or something that's covering his actual police impersonation case, put it in the comments, because at this point it's almost comically empty as far as updates, and all you get when you type in is just the big JeremyDewittecase.com. And I wouldn't recommend until further notice even going on that site. But what's kind of a fun build of tension to a release is if this Dr. Phil show, which there's no reason, unless he's just a drama queen, there's no reason for Blue Bacon to be talking in legal riddle speak if he wasn't a part of it, right? Maybe they'll edit him out, or maybe, but it sounds like there is a Dr. Phil show. He wouldn't be talking like that if he wasn't bound by an NDA, and if you weren't on the show, why would you sign an NDA? And so, as this is all coming together in the Dr. Phil episode, if it does air, it's either going to prove that JeremyDewittecase.com is just rubbish run by Jeremy, and it's going to be embarrassing because the posts are just going to come up as wrong. And who does that remind you of? Of somebody that would say one thing knowing that there's video of the thing that could just totally refute what he said. And that comes up as Jeremy. He's done that pretty much more than anyone I've ever known. So, trying to think. I think that's all I got. Hope you guys are having a good day. I will see you soon. Gonna cut it off there. Why? Stiving why?